This is about our kids that are in school. Why do we care about any of this? It's not about the politics. This is not a partisan issue. This is really about what's the best mechanism to be able to predict and plan for the education of our children across the state.
First and foremost, the Education Transformation Act. It is anything but transformational. It is going to have a devastating effect on school districts.
A couple of my colleagues have mentioned what they have heard from people back home that haven't seen the bill yet is that they're not happy with what they've been hearing on the grapevine we're doing in Albany when it comes to education, when it comes to how we teach our children, how we evaluate our schools, how we fund our schools.
There's no defense for this. There's no defense for a message of necessity on this piece of legislation. There's no defense for saying that we can give it back to the regents and step aside from our responsibility to protect children and teachers and ensure that our schools are places of learning. This is disgraceful.
Every single child in this state is more than a score. And what we are doing to them education-wise is simply wrong. It is child abuse.
I will not vote for this bill just because some piece of watered-down ethics reform is part of it. I'm going to stand with our kids, I'm going to stand with our teachers, and I'm going to vote no on this, and I encourage everyone else to as well.
So I'm going to be voting no. I think this is bad policy for the state, bad policy for our children, and something which I'm not going to tolerate.
We're taking back our schools, we're going to protect our children, and these tests have got to go away. I would encourage all of my colleagues to send a strong message to the governor and vote no on this legislation.
Once this bill is passed, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Once you've done it, it's done. And when they decide that, that's what we're stuck with, and that's the problem.
It puts together a teacher evaluation system that's unfair to the teachers once again. That's not necessary.
A budget bill that's now linked to teacher evaluations, and we can't identify the fiscal impact. Clearly, there's something wrong with that.
But a test does not measure the relationship that teacher has with that student, that they work to develop and grow, to help them progress throughout the year, to bring up their self-confidence and their self-worth. Testing does not measure that.
Then we're going to allow the State Department of Education and the regents, the same people responsible for the disastrous rollout of Common Core, to be in charge of coming up with an evaluation system, which will most likely be exactly what the governor has proposed.
I see nothing with respect to the students, to this testing. We have punted the evaluations to state ed, who will absolutely, in my opinion, make a disaster of this as well.
This seems like it's going to turn out to be another disaster going forward. Actually, I feel that part of the evaluation program is quite bizarre, too, especially in regards to having an impartial, independent evaluator come and start to do observations, someone that is very disconnected with the school district, disconnected with the actual learning community, and with the teachers.
No one knows who the Board of Regents, who sits on the Board of Regents, and yet they're going to make these key decisions about evaluations on whether we should continue to have a hyper-focus on standardized tests. And we're using a one-size-fits-all approach. I represent some very good schools. Our teachers are good. Our schools are good. And yet they're being punished.
We're pouring gasoline onto a fire. And if we continue to do this, it's not the adults that are going to suffer, it's the kids. So that's, at the end of the day, what matters. It's the children of this state. It's providing them the best education system possible. And in that end, I'm asking, I'm pleading, I'm begging that we reject this bill and we go back and we get this right. We bring in the stakeholders. We get the best evaluation system we can by going out there and talking about it and bringing in all the experts and everybody we can. Talk to everybody we possibly can, and we'll get a better system that identifies proper instruction, that our kids will benefit for and our districts will benefit for many, many years to come.